We've now got 2 weeks of NFL football in the books. Each week we learn a little bit more about each team. Welcome back, or welcome to America's Sports. We've got the best players of the week. We got the best teams, the best defense, best game of the week. But first, we start off with one of my favorite games: actions, reactions, and overreactions. We react to statements made, and then we call out if it's an action or an overreaction. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. The first one includes the Texans, and really this is kind of like a 2-in-1, but we'll have an answer for both of them. The first one, through 2 weeks, Nico Collins is the number 1 leader in receiving yards. He is 52 yards up on number 2. Chris Godwin and Jamison Williams both have 200. Collins has 252. So he's about 180 yards ahead of Stephon Diggs right now. Not only is Nico Collins going to be the number 1 wide receiver on Houston, in terms of receiving yards anyway, but he's going to stay in the top 5 all year long. All of the world getting to watch Nico Collins on Sunday night against a very good Chicago defense really showcases to the world that this show is his now. I'm going to call this one an action. I truly believe this. I'm a huge Nico Collins guy. Had him on all my fantasy teams last year. The second part, the Houston Texans are 2-0. The rest of the teams in their division are 0-2. Houston already 1-0 in that division as well. So there are people that are already saying that Houston Texans have wrapped up the AFC South. After these first 2 games, you can say, yeah, the other teams in their division are just not playing on the same level as they are. The Colts hung with them really well in week 1, but in week 2, you lost to Green Bay, who didn't have Jordan Love, and not only that, but you had Malik Willis, and he only threw 14 passes, but he kind of diced you up. He was 12 of 14. And then, of course, Josh Jacobs runs for 151 on you. Anthony Richardson throws 3 picks. The Titans, who I think have they have a pretty competent, pretty solid roster. It's just their problem is at quarterback, who he just can't get out of his way. I love the Tony Pollard acquisition. Calvin Ridley's going to be great, and when D-Hop gets healthy again, you know, this offense could be humming, and we know that they've done a solid job on defense. And then you have Jacksonville, who has played okay, I guess. They were beating Miami throughout most of the game in week 1, and they had a chance against Cleveland. But overall, you can't say they've been playing well at all. So I'm going to put this one in overreaction for now. But if we keep seeing the same results, this is going to turn into an action very quickly. This next one goes to the LA Rams. Arizona really put it on LA in week 2. It was kind of crazy to see how sluggish the Rams were, but Puka Nacua out. Cooper Kupp hurt. Stafford questionably hurt. The defense hasn't really been able to stop anyone, and before the season, I thought the Rams would get better on defense, but over the first 2 weeks, it doesn't look like that's the case. The big one for the Rams this week is that they ain't going to make the playoffs because of the injuries and the lack of defense. And while no, this doesn't look good and they are 0-1 in the division, this is an overreaction still. The LA Rams organization is an organization that you do not want to count out. So I'm not hitting the panic button on this one yet. I haven't heard the same amount of overreaction for the Dolphins, but now that Tua has been on concussion protocol and he will miss the next 4 games, Dolphins fans and NFL fans alike, do you guys think the Dolphins will also miss the playoffs now? Let me know what you think. On this last one, we'll talk about what I said in last week's episode when it comes to quarterback Bryce Young. After week 1, people were already calling for Bryce Young to be taken out as the starting quarterback. I did call this an overreaction, but I told everyone that I was moving towards this being an action. And if he keeps playing the way that he started out in week 1, he will get the boot. He didn't play well again. Actually, he played bad again. Let's just call it what it was. Well, they went ahead and gave him the boot earlier than I thought they would. I still think it was a little early, even though he was playing bad. But it turned out that this turned into an action quicker than we thought it would, or quicker than I thought it would. They are a minus 60 in point differential, and yeah, they're the worst team in the NFL. My quarterback of the week goes to Kyler Murray, 17 of 21. Woo! With 266 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 158. He was basically perfect. Not to mention an 11.8 yard average on the run with 59 rushing yards. I mean, absolutely torched LA. And the thing is, they could have scored more if they really wanted to. Running back of the week, kind of have to give it to Alvin Kamara. 3 rushing touchdowns and also a receiving touchdown. 4 total touchdowns. Yeah, you're going to be player of the week. But I also want to give out my shout-out running back is J.K. Dobbins yet again. 131 rushing yards and a touchdown with a 7.7 average per carry. Wide receiver of the week goes to Justin Jefferson. This was a close one, but I do give it to Justin Jefferson for beating the 40 frickin' Niners. He had a 33.3 average as he just had 4 catches, but he took that for 133 yards and a touchdown. One of those going for 97 frickin' yards. My shout-out wide receiver is Marvin Harrison Jr., and there's probably going to be some people saying that he should have won it, and I get it. This was kind of a toss-up for me. I gave it to Jefferson because it was against the Niners. But if you want to argue that Harrison should have been number 1, I really don't have any complaints about this. But shout-out to you, Marvin. Tight end of the week goes to my thumbnail and Brock Bowers. I kind of wanted to give this to Hunter Henry, but Brock Bowers won. He was making big play after big play against Baltimore that ultimately, in the end, ended up getting a W. And that was really the difference for me. But my shout-out tight end is Hunter Henry, of course. Seattle was not capable of stopping him. Defense of the week, it must go to the New Orleans Saints. Once again, this is the second straight week for them. And really, we just have to give them the overall team of these first 2 weeks. They have the second most takeaways on defense, but on offense, Carr's played nearly perfect. But really, going into Dallas and holding Dallas to just 19 points and beating them by 25 points is ridiculously amazing. If I had to give a defensive player of the week, I would probably give it to Fred Warner, though. We might start doing that. Or maybe Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson had fucking 4.5 sacks and a forced fumble. Fred Warner was everywhere, and even though they did lose, he had 2 forced fumbles and an INT and a sack, along with the 3rd most tackles in week 2. Game of the week, which I haven't really touched on at all, was Cincinnati and Kansas City, ending in kind of a controversial call, which ended up the Chiefs winning on a game-winning field goal by Harrison Butker. On the Cincinnati side, you want to get in the win column, and it would be great to do that against Kansas City. It would be a great momentum builder. Patrick Mahomes threw a couple of picks. One of those interceptions was by taylor-britt, who had maybe interception of the year already, and Trey Hendrickson put the pressure on him late in that game. It felt like we did enough to beat Kansas City, but Kansas City still got the job done to their credit. And, yeah, I'm a Bengals fan, but, I mean, technically, yeah, that is pass interference. You could make a case on holding and pass interference all game long. That's the shitty thing about it. Now, to the Chiefs' credit, they were able to fumble Joe Burrow and take it all the way back for a touchdown. And kicker Evan McPherson misses an extra point. That extra point was huge because that would have just put the game in overtime instead of winning it for Kansas City. Kudos to them. They won in Kansas City like they were supposed to, and they're still the #1 team in the NFL. For those who have been asking, yes, this is going to be a weekly series. I won't be able to do it next week because I'll be in vacation. But until then, have a great one. I gotta give a big shout out to you too, dude. I appreciate you for watching this video. Make sure to like and comment and all that YouTube shit. But that's it for me, guys. You'll catch me in the next one.